Welcome into the show, everybody. My name is Mark Farzetta, and congratulations. This is the last Friday for quite some time before the bye week, where we don't have an Eagles game to talk about or preview for the upcoming weekend. How exciting is that? It's the last one. This one's Labor Day. This is Labor Day. I think we got Labor Day. This is Memorial Day. What do we got? Labor Day. We got that weekend coming up here. So we hopefully everyone has a nice little weekend. I will tell you right out of the gate, I will be doing the show, the Fighting's postgame show on the JAKIB Media YouTube channel tonight, following the Eagles' first game of the three-game series they have with the Milwaukee Brewers. It's an 8:10 start time tonight. Zach Wheeler will be on the hill for the Phillies, so I will be on with you guys after that to react to that game live. So I look forward to doing that. And then Monday, no shows. I'm off Monday, as I hope you guys are, enjoying the day and just kicking back, relaxing, hanging with the family, hanging with some friends, enjoying yourself. I know I told you guys I'll be going fishing this weekend, so I look forward to that. But before I went away, you know what I did last night? Well, here's what I did yesterday. First off, I got a big old pot of braciole on the stove. Okay, now I make my braciole with the flank steak. I make it with basically the meatball mix, the veal, pork, and beef. I got some hard boiled eggs. I'm gonna grind up. I'm gonna sprinkle over top before I roll them, tie them, and then or I already rolled them, tied them, and put it in there, and then I put it in the sauce and the gravy. Right, that's sitting on the stove as we speak right now, and that's gonna be my dinner tomorrow night. The night after that, and the night after that, and the night after that. Making it for the family, going away with the wife's family to Virginia. They got a relative down there that we enjoy spending time with, a couple relatives down there. So that'll be my contribution to the weekend. And then do some fishing. So I'm very much look forward to that. It does, for those that can identify, there is no candle, there is no spray that can simulate the smell of a just pot of the Sunday sauce, the Sunday gravy on the stove. You can smell it all throughout the house. It's a beautiful thing. So yeah, I hope you guys have some great plans for the weekend. But here's what I did. I made that yesterday. All right, still stewing. Okay. Then I went down to the Eagles Kelly Green block party in Fairmount. Told you guys I was going down there. And that's what I did, and it was a sight to be seen. Now, I don't need to tell you guys the Philadelphia Eagles a week before the season starts. I don't need to tell you guys that they draw a crowd. I expected a couple hundred people. I expected it to be a party. I did not expect it to be a shut-down Fairmount Avenue type of block party. Literally driving into my old neck of the woods, okay, before I had sold out and moved to the burbs, all right? I lived in Fairmount for 20 years. And I'm driving up, and I see this big wall, this big black wall, right? And I'm like, is that a TV screen? And sure enough, they had from the penitentiary, from the end of the penitentiary, it covered the length of the penitentiary, basically, this whole thing. They had one end of Fairmount Ave blocked off with this big screen, and then it turned out it was also a stage. The Eagles cheerleaders performed. Brandon Grahams came out and said hello. Mike Quick came out and said hello, and the crowd went crazy, right? But I'm walking in, and it's literally just a sea of Kelly Green. I'll show you the video. I do have a Farzi in the field for the report, but just to set the scene for you, it was spectacular. It was a classic Philadelphia block party, as if all of Philadelphia was invited. It was awesome. They had Noah, the bald eagle, there. They had, like I said, Brandon Graham, Michael Quick. They had Spuds was leading some trivia there and kind of hosting and emceeing the event. People were so excited, and everywhere you looked, it was Eagle Green. It was Kelly Green for the most part. I saw the new Hurts Kelly Green jersey, the Dallas Goedert Kelly Green jersey, Jason Kelsey, all the jerseys you can imagine in the new Kelly Green. It was a thing of beauty. People wearing their Kelly Green jerseys from the throwbacks, not the new ones, but the one that said, Reggie White and Harold Carmichael and Randall Cunningham. It was spectacular. And, man, if you needed to get the mood set for the season, that was the way to get the mood set for the season. It was fantastic. Also, I listened to Kenny Gainwell address the media yesterday as far as the season actually goes and talked about the running backs room. And how the egos have to be checked at the door. And here's the thing. We'll get into this conversation because we're going to talk about the running back room for the Philadelphia Eagles this season. We're going to get into that conversation. We're also going to talk about the Phillies today ahead of their 3-game series with the Brewers. We're going to talk about where they are in the wild card standings right now with them being idle. Yesterday, only one team was active that they give a damn about, and that was the San Francisco Giants. So we'll get into that. And yeah, we'll of course talk about this Eagles season and what the real expectations are, because yesterday I got a message that asked me to fill in for Dan Cilio on the JAKIB YouTube channel for the National Football Show. Me and my new friend Bill Colarulo, who he and I will be doing the halftime show for JAKIB Media for the upcoming season from Oceans Casino. But Bill and I were talking about it a lot, and we were kind of talking about the expectations for the season. And I think most of us are on the same page here. You really do try to break down the Eagles to, all right, it can't be this good, okay? There's no way the Eagles are going to have back-to-back seasons where it's, oh, their quarterback is an MVP candidate again, and the Eagles are like a favorite to go back to the Super Bowl, and they started the season 8-0, and everything's going to be fine with 2 new coordinators. There's going to be no hiccups. There's going to be no slow start to the season. There's not going to be sputtering out of the gate. There's not going to be anything like that. Everything's going to be just fine and dandy. So we've talked about the optimism. We've talked about why this team is going to be successful. We've talked about why we should be excited for the upcoming season. But what are the concerns? And one of the things I referenced is a friend of the show, Jimmy Kempski, for Philly Voice, does a great job every year of writing about why the Dallas Cowboys are going to be great, or why the Dallas Cowboys are going to be a dumpster fire, or why the Eagles are going to be great and have another great season, or why the Eagles are going to be a dumpster fire, okay? If it is going to go wrong, if it is going to go sour, if it is going to go south for the Eagles this year, why would it go south? Now, here's what I'm going to do when I break it down for you. I'm not going to talk about injuries. I'm not going to do any kind of weird, morbid injury prediction, because I think we all know that injuries can greatly affect every single team, especially if you have talented players such as the Eagles, all right? We're going to talk about it, but we're not going to go down the road of injury. So I just want to say that, and I hate the idea that in football you always have to kind of say the idea that, barring injury. Like, okay, thank you, barring injury, yes. In a very rough sport, very talented players get injured, you might not be as good. Shocking. Now, there are exceptions, of course, where you look at the Philadelphia Eagles 2017, and a couple of Pro Bowlers went down, and they still won a Super Bowl. The MVP of the league went down, they still won a Super Bowl. It's pretty amazing how that works out sometimes, right? Or almost never, I should say. So we'll get into that conversation today. I don't like looking for negatives, but when we have talked about all offseason why this team is going to be successful, it has gotten me to the point of, all right, I think we understand the Eagles are a very good football team. I think we understand that they're in a very good place. I think we understand that they've had a very good offseason as well. But what if it doesn't go right? I can tell you right now, the greatest feel, and it was a similar feeling to the Eagles losing this past Super Bowl, where still that 76ers second-round playoff loss, again, has stuck with me more than a Super Bowl loss. And it's similar to when the Eagles lost the Super Bowl with T.O. and Donovan. Because when they lost that Super Bowl, yes, it sucked. That what happened in the last 5 minutes? Why are they going so slow? How do they lose a lead? And how they let the Patriots come back and win this game? It was all that. It was that feeling. But at the end of the day, and this is a perfect example, you had this great feeling that this was just the beginning. You had this great feeling in 2004, 2005, that at the end of that year when they lost the Super Bowl, yeah, they got T.O. now, and they got Donovan, and they love each other, and T.O. can come back from a broken leg, and Donovan is going to be great for years, and these guys are besties, and nothing can spoil this relationship. The upcoming season would certainly show that they were not besties. It would show that T.O. very much wanted a new contract, and they wanted to rip up his old contract, and he had outperformed his contract. And Joe Banner didn't think that he really outperformed his contract. So that's my Joe Banner whisper. So Joe Banner decided not to do it, and Jeffrey Lurie decided not to do it, and Donovan McNabb wanted T.O. to keep his name out of his mouth, and he said he wouldn't go to bat for him. And then he kind of went to bat for Brian Westbrook, and then Andy Reid sent Terrell Owens home, where he did push-ups on his front lawn, and I got to go out there as my first assignment in the professional broadcasting world and report live from T.O.'s lawn. And then I didn't think that 18 years later, I'd be worried about a similar situation. And to be honest with you, this is a far different situation than that. And it's not that I think A.J. Brown or Devontae Smith is going to be doing sit-ups on their front lawn. No, it's nothing like that. The point isn't the specific. The point is the general. The general is that you had this amazing year, this year you'd been waiting for. And when you lost the Super Bowl, you felt like this was just the beginning. And it turned out to be the end. We felt similar with Carson Wentz. This is just the beginning. And it turned out to be a downward spiral with Carson Wentz, a wildly unfortunate downward spiral, where we thought this great thing and this great run was right there for the taking. But it wasn't. We have had built-up seasons before. We have had overhyped seasons before. Now, it's not overhyped until they don't live up to the hype, obviously, right? So this team, why do I believe this team is going to be successful? I go back to the veteran leadership and talk about the optimism before I talk about the pessimism. But we have seen seasons before that we were promised the world. It looked great on paper, and then for whatever reason, and unfortunately when the game started, it turned out to be not as great as we had anticipated. I still think that this team is going to avoid the Super Bowl hangover. I still think Jalen Hurts is not Carson Wentz. And I still think that the relationship he has with his teammates is nothing like Donovan and T.O. ever had. It's better than that. So I don't think those three factors go into this season. But the only point that is the overriding point in this is that we have had seasons before where we thought we were promised the world and we were going to get the world. And then it just hasn't gone our way. So we'll highlight today why it might not go our way. There are three main reasons as to why it could not go our way. And no, I'm not going to talk about injury. But, man, being down there yesterday at the Eagles block party, it did set the tone. It set the tone for me and just how ready this city is for football. Now, of course, as you guys know, I'm very much invested in our beloved Philadelphia Phillies. They had an off day yesterday. And before we get into the Eagles and our preview of what could be going on there, I do want to talk about where the Phillies stand, as again, they were idle yesterday. Here's where they are when it comes to the wild card standings. Phillies 4.5 games into a wild card spot. They lead the pack at 4.5 games in. The Cubs are a game and a half in. Cubs were idle last night. The Giants won last night. Giants won last night. They are now 70-64 on the season with a .522 winning percentage. They occupy the third and final wild card spot. The Arizona Diamondbacks, 69 wins on the season. They're a game out of a wild card spot. The Reds are 69-66. They're a game and a half out of a wild card spot right now. Marlins 3 games out. Padres 8.5, as are the Washington Nationals. That's the spot that they're at right now. Also, the Braves had a crazy night, but we'll get to that. Acuna had a crazy day. I was shocked to learn about it, but we'll get to that. But Phillies start things off tonight, 8-10 in Milwaukee. Look forward to that game getting underway. Before I play for you Farzy in the field in Fairmount, because that's optimistic. People are very excited. I want to talk about 3 things that concern me about the Eagles. The number one thing that concerns me, I'll go in order here. The number one thing that concerns me are your coordinators. I know Brian Johnson has this great relationship with Jalen Hurts. I know that Sean Desai has been blessed by Vic Fangio, all right, and he's been given the endorsement of Pete Carroll. These are 2 guys that have a nice little resume in the NFL. But to start it off with the offensive side of things, I'm not one for great relationships. To go back to the comparison, and I don't believe there's a big one, but yes, you could talk about a great year and then followed by a disappointing year. If you compare Jalen Hurts and Carson Wentz, what could happen? Carson Wentz had this great relationship with his offensive coordinator. And I know he wasn't calling plays, Press Taylor. It was Doug Peterson. But one of the things that people were bothered by in that time was that Carson Wentz was not being pushed by Press Taylor. He was too buddy-buddy with Press Taylor. The last time there was a buddy-buddy relationship between an offensive coordinator and a quarterback, it did not work out well in Philadelphia. Now, the saving grace is that you do not, Jalen Hurts is not Carson Wentz. And I don't think, I know Jalen Hurts likes hard coaching, but I don't think Jalen Hurts necessarily needs hard coaching. I think he's hard enough on himself. So that's the overriding saving grace in all of this. But as a play caller, Shane Steichen was a really good play caller. And you have a guy now in Brian Johnson who has not called plays, taking over that responsibility from a head coach, by the way, that by his own admission, more or less, can't call plays. And one of the best things about Nick Sirianni is that he can admit to himself when he has something that he is not particularly good at. And he can delegate. He can be the CEO type of head coach. And I love that term, CEO type head coach, where he finds somebody else to do the job that can do it better than him and say, all right, you do it. And he is knowledgeable enough, modest enough, and not ego-driven enough to say, yeah, this shouldn't be on my plate. I got to oversee the whole big picture here. So why don't you go ahead? I'm big picture stuff, okay? You're play caller. Go ahead and handle that game plan, getting ready for the game and all that. I'm your man. But when it comes to game day, when it comes to calling plays, Brian Johnson, this is on your table. We don't have any evidence as to whether or not Brian Johnson can handle this. Now, here's the other saving grace in this. He's got a good roster to be able to call plays for. He's got a good roster that even if he doesn't have the best play at the best possible time called up, he doesn't have the right play at the right time called up, he's got a quarterback that can figure it out. He's got wide receivers that can still produce and make a play. He's got a running back room, a stable of running backs that can make something happen. But if he is not calling the right plays, if he's not putting his players in the best possible position to have success, well, this doesn't matter how talented you are. There's been plenty of talented guys pissed off not having good years because they're not put in the right position during games to make plays. So that, for me, is a concern. You flip it over on the other side of the football, and Sean Desai, he's got 1 year under his belt as a defensive coordinator. 1 year under his belt. He has been given, similar to Jonathan Gannon last year, he has been given the keys to some pretty nice cars. I've referenced this analogy before, that I think David Letterman had such a great analogy for being a talk show host. And I think it can apply to a lot of things. He grew up, in Indiana and loved, the Indy 500. And he compared hosting a talk show to driving a car. If you're the driver, you think about the amount of people that go into building that car, working on that car, tuning that car, making the car safe, making sure the car is running perfect. There's this whole team of people. And then you go in the driver's seat. And if you drive that car into a wall, then everybody else's effort, everybody else's work goes by the wayside because you messed up. Howie Roseman has handed Sean Desai 2 first-round draft picks. Last year, he had another first-round pick in Jordan Davis that he handed to Jonathan Gannon. He also went out and he made an acquisition of a nickel corner to play the safety position in Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. He has brought in Darius Slay. He has brought in James Bradbury. They drafted Avonte Maddox. There are some pretty big, pretty beautiful cars that the Eagles have, and some of them brand new on the Eagles' defense. And Sean Desai has been given the keys to that kingdom. He has been given the keys to those cars. Talk about putting players in the right position. How is he going to utilize Jordan Davis? How is he going to utilize the Jalen Carter in his rookie season? Some are expecting, including NFL.com, recently ranked Jalen Carter as the favorite for Defensive Player of the Year. Have at it, Sean Desai. Put him in the right position. Nolan Smith, possible double-digit sack season, a rookie year. That'd be pretty impressive. Can't wait to see that. You have a toss-up right now at the safety position next to Reed Blankenship. Justin Evans, Terrell Edmonds. Oof. Will it be Sidney Brown? Will it be the rookie? Will you have 1 year of experience under the belt in the back in the secondary there at the safety spot? Either way, it's all on Sean Desai's shoulders to organize this, to be a better defense than what you had a year ago. I'm looking at Sean Desai where you have certain asks of coordinators. One is tough on the offensive side of the football because it's pretty hard to duplicate what Shane Steichen was able to do offensively. It was a phenomenal year last year. 1,000-yard rusher, 2,000-yard receivers, second in the league, second in MVP voting as a quarterback. That's pretty special. Go ahead and do it again. I'd love to see it. Go ahead and try to surpass it. That's what I want to see. But if you're Sean Desai, there's one phrase that I just don't want to go and pass through my lips. And it's one that hopefully this is the only time I'll say it. Some of you already know what I might say. Don't make me miss Jonathan Gannon. Don't make me miss John. Well, Jonathan Gannon, as much as you didn't like him, you had 70 sacks. You had a top 10 defense in points and yards per game. You were leading the league for a while there in takeaways last year. I never thought I'd say it, but I miss Jonathan Gannon. Now, with the pieces he has in the puzzle, hopefully this isn't the case. There are people that believe, and I'm one of them, that you're not going to miss Javon Hargrave. A veteran, a guy that came up with double-digit sacks from the defensive tackle position. Jalen Carter, I don't know if he's going to have the big splash numbers in terms of sacks that Javon Hargrave, the eye-popping numbers that you can see right there on the surface that jump out to you. But I think he will be creating a lot of opportunities for guys on the edge. I think him and Fletcher Cox on the interior of this defensive line are really going to make life easier for Brandon Graham, for Hassan Reddick, for Josh Sweat, for Nolan Smith. I think they're going to make life a lot easier for these guys. Oh, boy, Derek Barnett. Him too. But Sean Desai is the guy that has to organize this. One thing that he can't do, and look, as much as I want to see, especially with Nakobe Dean as your middle linebacker, then be a little bit more aggressive when it comes to, a couple more blitzes, maybe a game from your linebacker, your middle linebacker. Can't get beat. As much as we rag on the idea of not allowing the big chunk play, I get it. I understand it. That is a good philosophy. I don't have a problem with that. I have a problem when you face certain quarterbacks like Daniel Jones, for instance, or Dak Prescott, for instance, guys that can turn the football over at an alarming rate. I have a problem when you don't force them into a mistake. If you allow them to be comfortable, they're not going to make a mistake. But if you could do something, if you notice that they're starting to get comfortable, if they're finding a groove, if you don't do something to move that quarterback off their spot, if you don't do something to try to force something go your way when nothing is going your way, like drawing up a blitz, being creative, maybe a safety blitz. Maybe you do send Nakobe Dean up the middle. Maybe you do send Nakobe Dean through Fletcher Cox and Jalen Carter through the middle of that line of scrimmage to get after the quarterback. If you don't do that, then I think there's going to be a problem. But there is a fine line there. And I think most Eagles fans are on the same page as me when it comes to this. You can't be overly aggressive. It can't be a Jim Johnson blitz-happy type of defense anymore. With the way offenses are designed nowadays, with as pass-happy as they are, you can't take guys out of coverage. And if there's anything Nick Sirianni preaches about defense, it's that he does not want to see guys that could be in coverage and could be there to make a play if a quarterback makes a mistake. He doesn't want them behind the line of scrimmage. He doesn't want them on the other side of the line of scrimmage. He wants them to be back in coverage so you have the numbers game in your favor. It is such a fine line. And I'm not looking for that Jim Johnson-style defense again. I am certainly not looking for the Buddy Ryan-style defense again. As the Kelly Green is enough of a throwback for me. But it's going to be picking your spots. And the play I go to isn't even with Jonathan Gannon. Right? The play I go to is with Jim Schwartz, who hardly ever blitzed because he ran the wide nine, and that's how he depended on pressure. Similar philosophy of your front four has got to get pressure. You can't be sending blitzes. It's going to be your front four getting that pressure. That's how you're going to win. But the one thing that I go back to with Jim Schwartz is, if you remember in that NFC divisional game against the Atlanta Falcons, coming out of halftime, they did not have a lot of momentum. The Eagles did not have a lot of momentum going in the favor. I think they just got the field goal with the play to Alshon Jeffrey down the sideline. But coming out, they dialed up that little safety blitz with Rodney McLeod getting into the backfield, getting after Matt Ryan. Something you rarely saw, but it was just the right time for it, and it worked. You got to pick your spots. The best example I could probably give you of the last 4 years, 5 years, where a defense coordinator just said, you know what, it's time to push this button. Sean Desai saying in his introductory press conference that he wants the defense to be palpable. He wants you to feel it, right? I think that is mostly going to come from your front four. I think it's mostly going to come from your defensive line. But on the ideas and the situations where you want to dial up something to make something go your way, that's where you got to be careful. When you start rolling the dice, you got to make sure you're careful on how often you're gambling and how you're gambling. I do think that Sean Desai is going to be a teeny bit, a little tiny bit more aggressive than Jonathan Gannon. I think he's going to blitz at a higher rate. But the bigger test for me is going to come with the adjustments. And the perfect example of that is the Super Bowl. If you can't get home with your edge rushers for whatever reason, you're facing a really good offensive line, it's a slippery field, then what's your adjustment? Who's going to go straight ahead? As opposed to waiting for a guy like Hassan Reddick to get home, but he can't get the edge. He can't get that angle coming off the edge that he can get normally. So are you going to have a guy like Nakobe Dean, who is a much better blitzer than TJ Edwards? Are you going to rely on his instincts? Are you going to rely on his quickness? Because that's the adjustment that you got to make that wasn't made in the Super Bowl. The bigger thing for me, even above aggression, it's going to be adjustments. Things not going your way in the first half, how are you going to make them go your way in the second half? What are you going to do different? How are you going to think on the fly? And I don't have any evidence really that Sean Desai can do that. Like, I don't have any evidence that Brian Johnson can call plays at the NFL level. So back to the overall point. Still on number one here. Wow. But back to the overall point. If it is going to be a dumpster fire this year, it's because your coordinators are not, or excuse me, it's because your coordinators are in over their head. So that's a concern I have. Other concern I have comes down to the safety position. We've talked about Jalen Hurts till the cows come home about what the expectation is. We've talked to the Jalen Hurts, what the bar is, how great he could be, MVP runner-up, all that stuff, going to a Super Bowl, the number three, the third best player in the entire NFL, according to the players in the top 100. That's all great. He needs to do it again. What does he need to do to have another successful year and catch the attention of everyone around the NFL that he is the real deal? He needs to do it again. Okay, fine. The Eagles at the safety position could have 1 year of experience under their belt if they decide to go with Sidney Brown and Reed Blankenship. Now, I don't think that's going to be the case. But if that is not the case, then you're also going to be talking about guys that might have a lot of experience, like Terrell Edmonds, for instance. 75 starts with the Pittsburgh Steelers. That's something. Justin Evans has been in the league for a while. He's got experience. But you're going to be looking at him as mostly a linebacker more so than a safety. He'll be a safety, but he'll have a lot of experience down the box, of course. But you could be in a position here with Reed Blankenship where, yeah, he's a solidified starter now. Now, what I mean by that is he never had his job threatened in training camp. Never had his job. He didn't even dress for the preseason. We talk about Jalen Hurts. Hey, do it again. Now we need to talk about Reed Blankenship. Hey, go out there and do it again. Go out there and make sure you have something special waiting for the rest of the NFL to put them on notice that, what do they call it? Darius Slay was talking about milk check. Got to make sure people know when you're down in the box. Got to make sure that people know when you're back in coverage. Got to make sure that whoever's playing next to you doesn't have to make up for any mistake you might make. Because, look, inexperience, I don't make as much of a huge deal as other people. Oh, he doesn't have enough experience. Sometimes you're just good. I happen to believe that Reed Blankenship is that good. But when you're playing next to him, you're making up for a guy that led the league in interceptions last year in Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. You're making up for a guy that knew when to be aggressive in Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. This could be a huge drop-off. Now, I got confidence in your cornerbacks, your starting corners across the board. When you look at what you bring to the table with Slay and Bradbury and what you have in the slot there as your nickel corner and Avonte Maddox, I got a lot of confidence in that. But when you're talking about guys who are either going to be the deepest man on the field or playing in the box, that's where I got questions. And you don't have a lot of experience if you start Reed Blankenship and Sidney Brown. And this is coming from a guy who wants the startup cost to get out of the way as fast as possible with Sidney Brown. So if this is going to be a dumpster fire, it's because teams are going to be able to throw deep on you. Maybe you don't have that over-the-top safety help. Maybe you have more blown coverages because you don't have that experience back there. Now, last year it worked out fine. Marcus Epps was back there. You obviously had Chauncey Gardner-Johnson back there, who did not have a lot of experience since college at the safety position, but he certainly made it work for himself, and the Eagles coached to his strengths. Now you're going to have to do something similar. What are the odds that you have 2 years in a row where you don't have a lot of experience at safety at this, in this pass-happy league? What are the odds you hit on guys back-to-back seasons and you don't see a problem? I would venture to guess they're not very good. So you play the odds game, that's a concern. The third thing is that this is going to be a tougher schedule than last year. Two main reasons. One, you have one of the toughest strengths of schedule in the entire NFL versus what you were dealing with last year. Bill put it great yesterday. Bill Colarulo, while we were filming it on the National Football Show and JAKIB Media, Bill put it perfectly. It's just the bottom line is this is going to be a season where you're not going to be able to afford to lose to the Cowboys. This is going to be a game. This is going to be a season where you can't afford to lose to the Washington Commanders. This is one of those types of years. With the outside schedule who you have on that schedule this year with the Eagles, you can't afford to drop divisional games that you're supposed to win. And divisional games are always tough, and you can never count them out. Blah 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 blah. Eagles beat the Giants 3 times last year. All right, so I'll jump to that. But the schedule's tougher, and teams now know how good you are. And that might sound like nothing to some people, but that really does matter. You're not going to sneak up on anybody. Everybody will be throwing you are now a badge of honor to beat. We got the Eagles coming up. We can hold on. We beat the Eagles, man. We beat the Eagles. It's not going to be something where at the end of the season, Washington looks back and they go, oh, wow, yeah, well, how did we beat the Eagles that time, man? Yeah, they made a lot of turnovers. They had a lot of mistakes, but, man, we beat the Eagles. That's a badge of honor for them. People will have you circled on their calendar because they're gunning for it. Anytime you get to the number one spot, whether it's in your conference or overall in the NFL, when you get to the mountaintop of making it to a Super Bowl and winning a Super Bowl or just making it to a Super Bowl, you get that target on your back. And the Eagles right now have that target. So, look, every team in the NFL can lose focus. Every player in the NFL can lose focus. It happens, right? I know we don't look at it as a long season because it's only 17 games. It's 18 weeks, right? But to these players, it's still an everyday thing. They're not playing games every day, but they're at practice. They're at their workout facilities. They're at the practice facilities every day. So to them, it still is a grind. They can lose focus throughout a season. Teams can have their own internal turmoil throughout the season. If you're a really good team like the Eagles are, if you're coming off an NFC championship, if you're coming off an MVP caliber season from your quarterback, and you have stocked up defensively and offensively, whether it be draft picks or free agents or whatever the case may be, you have brought in players, you have traded for players to help you in the backfield, in the running back room. You have stocked up on talent. Teams are going to be circling you on their calendar. And you are going to be a reason for them to pull focus. Can't mess around this week. Can't get distracted this week. We got the Eagles coming to town, or we're going to Philly this week. You're a reason for teams to pull focus. And during a season when you can have all kinds of distractions, whether it be injury, whether it be drama with any given team, you don't want to be a reason for – it's like why you have bulletin board material. It's why bulletin board material matters. And you're looking at other teams around the NFL looking and you go, okay, well, we could not put a notch in our belt by beating the Eagles. That'd be a good one. So those are three things I look at. I look at the safety position. I know I'm very optimistic. Honorable mention about the linebacker, about Nakobe Dean. We don't know yet. I got to see it. I think he's going to be very good. I'm not saying he's going to make a Pro Bowl in his rookie season, but I don't think we're going to have a problem at linebacker. But I look at the coordinators, I look at the safety position, and I look at the overall schedule. If the Eagles are going to be a dumpster fire this year, if they're going to have a very disappointing season even this year, I think it's going to come down to those three things. Barring injury, these are the three things I look at. I think your coordinators are under the microscope. I think whoever you're starting at safety is going to be under the microscope because he's filling some pretty big shoes from last year. And I think overall, the schedule and your own reputation, it's going to be a tough year for the Eagles. Now, please keep in mind, now that I've just laid all that before you, please keep in mind I have spent the last 6 months telling you why I am so excited about this Eagles season and why I think the Eagles are going to have another successful year. people talk about that Super Bowl hangover. I think the number one reason the Eagles don't have that is because the Eagles won't experience that is because of the leadership on this team. Yes, talent above all else, but that 2005 Eagles team coming off a Super Bowl loss to the Patriots, that was a pretty talented team. And that year sucked. That year featured the Reggie White game, man. Ugh. Talk about the Kelly Green. I was at that game against Seattle. They got blown out. Mike McMahon came into that game. Yeah, remember him? That was a lot of fun. Coy Detmer came into that game. That was a fun one. Did Detmer start that game? He might have started that game in the snow honoring Reggie White. Oh, my goodness gracious. No, everything went wrong in that game. That game was the perfect epitome of why that season sucked. Anyway, so I tell you all that to tell you this. Eagles are still winning the division. Eagles are going back to the Super Bowl. But if they weren't, and if it is going to be a dumpster fire, those reasons are why I think it's going to be a dumpster fire. Now, the running back room. Let's get into this conversation here. Kenny Gainwell addressed the media yesterday. People have tried to identify. Everyone always wants to know the number one guy. They always want to know running back one, RB1, right? QB1, and rightfully so. I get it. Safety one. You know, who's going to be the starting safety next to Reed Blankenship? People want to know that, and rightfully so. You should want to know that. My breakdown is this. DeAndre Swift catches the most passes. Kenny Gainwell gets the most touches. Rashad Penny, in case of emergency, break glass. Rashad Penny will get some big runs on this team. They got to keep Rashad Penny healthy. I'd love to see him healthy in the postseason. Boston Scott. Oh, you're playing the Giants? All right, have at it there, Boston Scott. I believe this running back room is extremely talented. I believe that the running back position of the Philadelphia Eagles is going to be one of the best in the NFL. That is as a conglomerate. This is as a running back by committee. But ego is a dangerous thing. Eagles have leadership, and that can overcome a lot of things. But egos can rear their ugly head, and they can ruin a lot of things. Kenny Gainwell yesterday was asked about that running back room and how everybody kind of understands the way roles are going to develop. And they understand that this Eagles team is pretty much going to focus on riding the hot hand. Here's Kenny Gainwell yesterday when talking about that running back room.
Backs. Yeah, I'm very curious, and I'm excited about that running back room. And man, we got a lot of great guys in there. Me, Boston, and DeAndre and Penny. Man, I'm just excited about the roles that we're gonna have and what we can do. You know, we very special, and we're just gonna take control of it.
At some positions, it's like you win a job and that's settled for the year. But with you guys and knowing everyone will play, does that competition kind of continue into the season now?
Basically, we just gonna, man, do what we do and hold each other back. We're gonna have each other back each and every day, and man, we're gonna take it one day, one game, one period, man, each and every day, you know, and just continue to work hard at it.
It seems like it seems like all you guys are close.
Yeah, they are close. Ruben coming in there with a question, but he did talk about the attitude that these guys have surrounding one another, and this is what he got into.
Now I'm getting an opportunity to be in the room with all these guys, and they're very special, you know, and I can sense a selfless group, and we all, like, know that we have a big role that we have to take in, and it's just the selflessness in everybody, man. I love it about them.
You're going to need a hell of a lot of selflessness. That's what you're going to need in that running back room, because I think guys are going to have success. Guys are going to be forgotten about for a minute, and then you're going to be mixing them in, and everyone's going to be happy again, and then guys are going to ride the hot hand again. That's the way the season's going to play out. I tell people this. It's going to be difficult. If you got a fantasy draft this weekend, and I know it's a popular weekend for fantasy drafts, running back room of the Philadelphia Eagles is a tough one. I mean, put it this way. There's safe picks in this running back room that will get you points, but they're not going to be, obviously, bell cow guys. It's a tough one. It's a very, very tough situation because you're going to have different guys getting smoking hot at different points. And the Eagles, as we know, haven't had a history of throwing to the running backs. I'd love to say they're going to be running the football a lot. I just don't see it. But either way, these guys are going to be canceling each other out as decent fantasy football picks because there's going to be such diversity in that backfield. So it is a tough one. It is absolutely going to be a tough one. As I said, I listed off if the Eagles were going to fail this year, which they won't, but if they did, how would it happen? At the Eagles Kelly Green block party yesterday, it was nothing but optimism. Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, our first Farzy of the field of the football season. Farzy in the field of the football season, where I went down to Fairmount Ave yesterday to talk to you wonderful Eagles fans about your expectations for the season and your favorite Eagle all time to don the Kelly Green. Ladies and gentlemen, here is our first Farzy in the field of the season. You enjoying the Kelly Green block party?
Oh yeah, it's awesome here.
All right, give me your favorite all-time Eagle to wear the original Kelly Green.
Oh my gosh, you gotta go Reggie White, right?
I mean, who else?
Yeah. I mean, Carmichael, pretty badass.
You got to go with Randall Cunningham.
Reggie
White. Absolutely.
Any questions?
No, I didn't just answer it. I mean, that's the best answer you could possibly get.
Yeah. Wes Hopkins.
Wes Hopkins.
Number 48.
Oh, that's a great one.
Hopkins and Wooders were just so nasty. It was amazing. I loved every minute.
Seth Joyner.
Oh, yeah.
There you go, Seth. That one's for you, buddy. All right. What is your bold prediction for the Eagles' upcoming season?
We're probably going to win in the range of 12 to 13, but we will go back to the Super Bowl.
Bold prediction. Oh, I was going to say, all right, let's say they're going to go 15-2. How about that?
15-2?
Let's go a little bold.
Oh, that's pretty bold.
I don't know if it's bold, but they're winning the Super Bowl. And Jalen Hurts is the MVP, and I really don't think that's going out on an ledge. I mean, that's you know, it's not crazy.
City will celebrate again. 100%.
Yes, great. One of the greatest days of my life.
All right, what is your bold prediction for the upcoming 2023 Eagles season?
The guy who's holding the kick's going to throw a touchdown, 15 yards.
The
guy who holds the kicks is going to throw a touchdown.
The guy who holds the kicks.
So whoever their third string QB is.
All right, so
is there.
All right,
Tickles there.
Yeah, it might be their punter, Aaron Chiplock. Okay, there you go. The guy who holds the ball for the field goals for Jake Elliott will throw a touchdown pass?
Yes.
That doesn't get any bolder than that. What is your bold prediction on this Eagles season?
Well, we're just going back all the way. No doubt about that.
Okay, so we're going back to the Super Bowl.
No doubt about that.
What's your prediction?
Oh, wait a minute.
Oh, sorry.
Wait a minute.
All right.
Wait.
There we go.
Let's give him an opportunity.
Yeah, let's give him an opportunity. He's got to stretch. He's got to warm up.
All right.
He's got to do some calisthenics.
All right.
The Eagles are going to go all the way to the Super Bowl. Go Eagles. E-A-G-L-E-S. Eagles.
That was fantastic.
E-H-L-S. What? E-H-L-S. Who? E-H-L-S. Where? Eagles. Hold up. Bring it back now. E-H-L-S. What? E-H-L-S. Who? E-H-L-S. What? E-A-G-L-E-S. Eagles.
That was Will of God, by the way. If you're familiar with Will of God's work, I've known Will of God. I just happened to bump into him there at the block party, and he was doing his Eagles chant. Actually, you know what he did? He asked me where the liquor store was, and I said, "You're in luck. I lived here for a while. Boom, right over there. You just go down past Fairmount Hardware, and it's right there on the left by the post office. It's right there. It's across from the right end. You're good to go. And he really loves his Eagles chant. But the vibes were good there yesterday. The vibes were real good yesterday. I didn't know they did this, but they were feeding Noah, the bald eagle there. It looked like a little mouse. They fed in front of everyone. And I asked if the mouse's name was Dak. But I couldn't get an answer. But great job by the Eagles. They did a phenomenal job putting that together. It looked like from when I walked on to Fairmount Avenue, all these people having a great time playing cornhole, taking pictures with huge bobbleheads. Having themselves some fine food with the food trucks that were down there. The Eagles cheerleaders performed. The drum line was there. It was such an awesome time by that Eagles block party. So good hustle to them. Let's get to the chat check and see how you wonderful people are doing on this fine Friday morning. Sean Gillespie, what's going on? Sean Kilrain, good morning. It's a Philly thing. Isn't that right, Farzi? That's what you had been thinking. Yes, it is a Philly thing. Absolutely. Morning. This is my favorite time of year. Great baseball and football. We every year we ask for the meaningful games in September. And now we have, and also that, not only that, the meaningful games in September. We also ask that the Phillies are still relevant by the time the Eagles snap the football. By the time the Eagles have their first snap of the season, Phillies, please still be in it and be interesting. Well, they are very much in it. 4.5 games in their wild card spot. And they are certainly interesting. Certainly interesting. April with the favorite time. Sean Kilmer, Uncle SB. That TO year will be a good future 30 for 30 documentary one day. It's still unbelievable. The fact that we still talk about it this year, like this many years removed from it, 18 years removed from it, is insane. Because of the hype, because of the anticipation, waiting for Donovan to finally get a number one wide receiver, having a number one wide receiver, boom, go to the Super Bowl. And then losing the Super Bowl. And then losing T.O. You know what a lot of people forget? T.O. was the Eagles' leading receiver. Both years he was on the Philadelphia Eagles. And remember, he only played like 7 games, I think it was. The second year he was with the Eagles before he got released. Before he got banished from the land. But yeah, I can't wait for that 30 for 30. And of course, Hugh Douglas. I got to get Trey back on the show, Trey Thomas, because his account of the story is hilarious because he was still on the team. Hugh was the ambassador. And he said that he was walking down the hallway, and Hugh had come out of like the hot tub area, and he was like winded. And Trey was like, "What did you just do?" And he's like, I just got a little scrap. I was like, "Scrap? What are you talking about, scrap?" He's like, "Oh, me and you had a little disagreement, whatever." So just to picture Hugh being a little winded from scuffling with T.O. is hilarious. Sean Kilrain, Desai sounds to me the silent assassin. He's going to run the defense, play smart, fun. I have a similar thought, Sean Kilrain. Silent assassin. Except for one thing. He talks a really good game. Like, he doesn't overdo it. He's not verbose. He's not boisterous. But, like, just even talking about, like, using that word palpable, and talking about how he wants the defense to reflect the city. Like, he says the right things. Like, silent assassin. Jonathan Gannon didn't really talk a big game, but 70 sacks in that scheme, that philosophy, that worked. It's hard to be any quieter than Jonathan Gannon unless it's right before the NFC Championship game and he's going to bleep and gut the San Francisco 49ers. But I hope you're right. I say what's going on. Morning, Mark and everyone. I am skeptical about week 1 versus the Patriots. Good defense up there and Brady retirement euphoria. Big road trip for them, for the Phils. Have a great weekend. Thank you, Mihai Sanchez. I'm not worried about this Patriots game. Look, I think the Eagles just come running out of the gates, man. I have the feeling that this Eagles team has what every team that's lost the Super Bowl has in terms of that bad taste in their mouth and that getting so close but not getting it has only driven them more, that whole thing. I think that absolutely defines the Eagles. But you combine that with the talent and you combine that with the leadership, I feel like the Eagles are and I know the hungry dogs run faster thing is don't to a lot of people's minds when I say this, but I think the Eagles are just caged, rabid dogs right now. And I think they can't wait to get this season underway. Like, I think even going back to last year, they were hyped up more than anybody last year. Oh, they were talking about it as rat poison. Jason Kelsey was talking about it as you can't be comfortable. Can't talk about being comfortable. And once you're comfortable in this league, you're out of the league. That was before they had done anything. Now they have again. Now, Jason Kelsey had obviously won a Super Bowl years prior, but before that 2022 team had done anything, they were already hyped up. They were talking about they're going to make it to the Super Bowl. The only question you really had was, is Jalen Hurts really the guy? You know what I mean? And boy, did he answer that question. So if that was their attitude last year without a Super Bowl loss, what's their attitude this year with a Super Bowl loss, with an MVP caliber quarterback? I think their attitude is, let me at him. Think you're going to have a tough schedule? Think you're going to have a tougher one than last year? Let me at him. That's what I think the Eagles' mindset is going into this season. They are caged, rabid dogs, and you want to just kick that gate open, and you want to just unleash them. And that's where I think you can look at that as the rose-colored glasses. You can look at that as a Disney mindset, but I just think this Eagles team is going to be a force to be reckoned with this season. And I think they have the right leadership in place. I think they have the talent in place on this roster to go out there and just make great things happen. So that's what I'm looking forward to. And that's what I'm most optimistic about. So I don't look at that Patriots game. I don't look at them going on the road and, laying an egg. I don't think they start the season off with a dud. I think they start the season off with a very loud bang that would, even more so than they've already done, put the rest of the league on notice. So I don't get, and I remember they used to have a stat on this. I don't know what it is anymore, but teams are supposed to suck when they're honoring somebody. So the fact that they're honoring Tom Brady makes me think the Patriots are going to go out there and lay an egg. Now Bill Belichick's going to have his team ready to play and blah, 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 blah. But I don't really think that means anything. You know what it means? It means a nice pregame party. It means fans excited at a Patriot place. That they're going to see Tom Brady. They're going to ride in on that one dirt road into Gillette Stadium and be all excited. But then I think the Eagles just handle the business. Simple as that. Jason A. What's up, Jason A.? Nice to see you. Where are you at? How do you feel about TJ Hawkinson contract? Highest paid yeah, that is pretty remarkable. He came over from I'm trying to think of the order. I think he's a very talented tight end. Dallas Goedert needs to stay healthy. I use the phrase to put the league on notice. Dallas Goedert's better than TJ Hawkinson. Dallas Goedert's going to get paid one day. I don't know if it's going to be by the Eagles, but Dallas Goedert's going to get paid. He's got to be healthy. He got a big contract, obviously, when his rookie year expired. Him and Avonte Maddox finally moved out, got their own separate places once they got their contracts right. But I think there's a big payday coming for Dallas Goedert. He's got to stay healthy to show the league what he can do. The run game, he's an integral part of the run game. He could pass. He could catch. He's huge in the pass game as well. He can catch the ball very well. He can run after the catch very well. He does everything extremely well. I remember talking to Clay Harbor before last year, just talking about how a guy like Dallas Goedert is without question a top 3 tight end in the National Football League when it comes to Travis Kelce, when it comes to George Kittle, who obviously had down here with some injuries last year. But Dallas Goedert has the opportunity, if he stays healthy, to put the league on notice. But yeah, that Hawkinson deal is insane. Sean Kilrange chiming in on it. Definitely doesn't deserve the payday. Making more than Kelce, Andrews, Goddard, who, yes, I do believe are all better. But yeah, the Hawkinson deal was a little surprising. Giants. Darren Waller. Yeah. April. It just says he has a puppet. The guy literally had a puppet. I wasn't sure if the Eagles hired the guy with the puppet in the Farzine in the field piece. I wasn't sure if the Eagles hired the guy with the puppet. Or if he was just a guy out with a puppet. The guy was just a guy out with a puppet. Now, it turns out he does work in the community to help raise awareness about gun violence. So good for him. The guy is the guy's doing God's work. Good for him. The puppet caught me a little off guard. The puppet caught me a little. The puppet's name was EO. That was the name of the puppet. EO. EO thinks we're going back to the Super Bowl, kids. Jason A., I'm worried about the Pats game. That makes one of us. Banner screwed us with. We could have been an NFC Championship game every year with McNabb instead of that 05, 06, 07 gap. It was a Banner and Laurie thing. Dallas been paid. No, Dallas has been paid. Yeah. But so now the market resets. With the Hawkinson deal, the market resets. Goddard in a year or two is going to get some kind of renegotiated deal. It's going to be for big money. There might even be a holdout, God forbid. The greed drives, and it's by a player's perspective, it's not greed, it's business. But yeah, it's going to be big. Sean, and this is years down the line, something we don't have to worry about. Sean Gillespie, EO. Oh my God. Damn right, EO. What else do we got here? Special teams will cost the Birds a game, says Tim. I'm over on the JAKIB Media YouTube channel now. Very well could. Very well could. What the heck is going on here? There we go. The name Jalen Reagor has come up with the Minnesota Vikings releasing him. I'm not going near it. All right, folks. It's the Eagles. Do they need a punt returner? Could they use a kick returner? Certainly. I am not going near Jalen Reagor. I think the guy can't get out of his own head, and I don't think he's going to be able to get out of his own head here in Philadelphia. The two conversation pieces that I've seen stirred up this week that I did not see coming. One was Jalen Reagor and a possible, would you take him on the Eagles as a punt or a kick returner? No. The other is even more shocking. Ben Simmons would be open to returning to Philadelphia. Was it Marcus Spears that did the interview? On whatever the hell it was? What the heck was it? God, who did the interview for ESPN? It wouldn't have been Marcus Spears. God, who was? I can't remember. But anyway, they did the interview with Ben Simmons, and he said that he would welcome a trade back to Philadelphia if it ever came up. I know I've used this phrase a lot, and I'm going to channel my inner Peter Griffin one more time. No. Stop it. You stop it. Stop it. Wow, a world where Jalen Reagor and Ben Simmons are back in Philadelphia. No, thank you. Yeah. Anyway, Riley Rax, what's up? I can play safety for the Eagles with this D line. Life is easy. Hey, I don't disagree. I actually made that point yesterday on the National Football Show when we were filling in for Dan Cilio. If you're playing safety or even corner with this team, so God forbid somebody does go down with injury in the corner or safety position, you're playing with like a running back behind this offensive line. Like the job is made easy for you. I shouldn't say that. The job is made a lot easier for you than other places. Put it that way. So if you got to be the deepest man on the field, you don't got to be in coverage that long because this defensive line is going to get home. Hassan Reddick is going to get home. Josh Sweat is going to get home. Brandon Graham's going to get home. Nolan Smith's going to get home. Jalen Carter, Fletcher Cox, Milton Williams, they're going to get home. Jacoby Dean, right time, right place, going to get home. So I'm with you that it's easier to play that spot. But I'm just saying, if I had to, and this goes to the next Eagles fan for life, come on, man. Have some faith in this team. I'm picking the Eagles to go to the Super Bowl for the record. My point and setup, in case you missed it, Eagle fan for life, was if the Eagles were going to have a down year, if they were going to have a down year, how were they going to have that down year? And it's because the coordinators were going to suck at their jobs. The safety position, not a lot of experience, not a lot of talent. We don't know what Reed Blankenship can bring to the table in a second year. I think he's going to be fine. But maybe that position is a position of weakness in the upcoming season. And then the schedule. The Eagles are going back to the Super Bowl. The Eagles are winning at least 12 games this upcoming season. I'll give my official predictions next week, leading up to the season opener. But if I had to say why they weren't going to have success, those are the things I'm looking at. Barring injury, taking that out of the conversation because I'm not wishing that into the atmosphere. That's why they're going to not have success. Let's wait till we play the games. See, this is of course, but then if that was the case, then we wouldn't ever talk Eagles football for 6 months. Wait till they play the games? I would love to, but that's boring. To talk about our football team is fun. Mike is right. Good morning. Good morning, Mike is right. Bahama Eagle. What's up, Bahama Eagle? Bahama Eagle BS? Okay. Yo, you won me over with that excellent. Oh, that's very nice of you. Excellent job you did yesterday filling in on the National Football. You're very kind. Thank you very much. That's very nice of you. Folks, Phillies are back at it tonight. To get to the morning rush, brought to you by Sky Motorcars, SkyMotorcars.com. Phillies are back at it tonight, 8:10 start time in Milwaukee. They start a 3-game series with the Milwaukee Brewers. They start a 6-game road trip tonight out there. Phillies are coming off an incredible August. We recapped it for you guys yesterday. Here's to carrying into September what you did in that month of August. Zach Wheeler gets to start for the Phillies. He is 10-6 on the season with a 3.59 ERA. Freddie Peralta, right-handed pitcher, comes into the game at 11-8 with a 3.95 ERA. 27-year-old righty for the Milwaukee Brewers. He is coming off one hell of a run. He has not allowed more than 2 earned runs in his last 4 starts. He's got at least 5 1/3 in all those starts. He's coming off a solid start there against San Diego Padres. Great start against the Rangers, 5 2/3, 1 earned run allowed. He walked 2. Shutout, 6 shutout innings against the White Sox, and 7 innings, 1 run. It was a home run against the Colorado Rockies. So he's coming into this game rather hot. Zach Wheeler's not as hot, but is coming off a good start. 7 innings, 1 run in his last start. Last night in baseball, the Atlanta Braves beat the Dodgers 8-7. Ronald Acuna, ladies and gentlemen, has entered historic grounds. Well, first off, he started the day by getting married. I don't really look for players that are getting married on day games, so I can't say I've ever really seen it before. But Ronald Acuna gets married in the morning, then he goes and he hits a grand slam in the game against the Dodgers. The Braves won to improve to 88-45. They won 8-7 against the Dodgers, and he becomes the first ever baseball player with 30 home runs and 60 stolen bases in a season. That's a full day. Married, grand slam, the 30-60 club. Here's my impression of Ronald Acuna walking into that club. Opens door, looks around. No one's there because he's the only one in that club. He wears the Braves uniform, so I don't like him, but damn, he's a hell of a ball player. Ronald Acuna Jr., congratulations to you. I look forward to the Braves choking against the Phillies in the postseason yet again. That's the time, everybody. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Jim Hyde produced the program, did a wonderful job as per usual. My name is Mark Farzetta. This is the Farzy Show. I'll be back with you guys on Tuesday. But before that, I'll be back with you guys tonight on the JAKIB Media YouTube channel for the Fightins post-game show with yours truly. Hopefully after the Phillies take care of business against the Brewers. Thanks for watching. Have a wonderful weekend, everybody. I'll see you guys tonight, and then I'll see you guys on Tuesday morning as well, ahead of the Eagles kicking off their season for opening week of the NFL. Jim Hyde produced the show, did a great job. My name is Mark Farzetta. Have a great rest of your day, everybody. See ya.